Hi, and welcome to the first episode of Once Upon a Screen Time, where we reimagine movies and series as fairy tales and bedtime stories. My first ever episode will be on The Big Bang Theory Season 1, Episode 1. So without wasting any of your time, please sit back, relax, or lie down and listen to a bedtime story. Once upon a time, in the mystical land of Pasadena, California, there lived two mighty wizards of intellect and quantum physics, Sir Sheldon Cooper and Sir Leonard Hofstadter. These two wise men, armed with their encyclopedic knowledge, lived in a humble castle known as Apartment 4A. Their realm was not one of knights, dragons, or magical potions, though they would probably argue about the physics of it, but rather one where equations reigned supreme, comic books were sacred texts, and awkwardness was a way of life. Thus begins our tale of nerdy chivalry, social ineptitude, and the mystical maiden known as Penny, whose entrance into this world would forever disrupt the balance of the kingdom. In the opening moments of this grand tale, Sir Leonard and Sir Sheldon embarked on a noble quest. They traveled to a most treacherous place known as the High IQ Sperm Bank, where they planned to offer their genetic excellence to the future offspring of this world. Unfortunately, even the most brilliant wizards can falter in the face of awkwardness. Sir Sheldon, plagued by second thoughts and a faint sense of moral decency, decided that donating to the cause of super intelligent babies was not for him, and so they returned to their tower, defeated but not broken, ready for their next adventure, which, unbeknownst to them, was about to knock on their very door. Lo and behold, as Sir Leonard and Sir Sheldon sought solace in their wizardly ways, which mostly involved video games and Chinese takeout, there was a new arrival. Who could it be? A fellow wizard? A time traveler from the future? No. It was a fair maiden named Penny, newly arrived in the kingdom of Apartment 4B, just across the hall. This Penny was unlike anyone they had ever met. She didn't speak mysterious languages like Klingon. She didn't care about Star Wars versus Star Trek. And most importantly, she was normal. With her golden hair, casual grace, and aura of social competence, Penny was a true enchantress, but of a variety that our brave heroes had never encountered before. Sir Leonard, immediately smitten, offered his humble assistance, hoping to impress the maiden with his vast knowledge of physics. Sir Sheldon, on the other hand, saw this newcomer as nothing more than an inconvenience, a disturbance in the force, a glitch in the matrix. He was perfectly content living in their orderly bubble of science discourse, superhero movie marathons, and rigid routines. But Leonard's heart had been struck by Cupid's geeky arrow, and so the quest to win Penny's favor began. It wasn't long before Penny, the new ruler of Apartment 4B, revealed her predicament to the courteous Sir Leonard. She had recently broken up with her beast of an ex-boyfriend. Leonard, sensing an opportunity to play the role of the noble knight, immediately offered his services in the most valiant way possible by inviting her over to their sacred lair to use their Wi-Fi. Because nothing says, "I'm here for you," quite like offering your wireless internet to a damsel in distress. But this wasn't the end for Sir Leonard's chivalrous deeds. When Penny mentioned her desire to shower, noting that something was wrong with hers, Leonard and Sheldon galloped to the rescue. However, this heroic mission took a dark turn. As Leonard tried to offer his clean, fresh towel to Penny, Leonard committed an act of treachery against social norms, informing Penny that Leonard's romantic intentions were not merely platonic. Penny, oblivious to the underlying tension, casually went about her day, unaware that her mere existence had launched Leonard into an unending cycle of social confusion and romantic delusion. Leonard, his heart pounding with hope and geeky anxiety, boldly invited Penny to join him and his band of merry nerds for his sacred meal. His compatriots in this quest included the slick Sir Raj Kuthrapali, a wizard of a few words, quite literally, as he was struck by the curse of selective mutism around women, and the flamboyant Sir Howard Wolowitz, whose wardrobe was as questionable as his pickup lines. The group's attempt to impress Penny with tales of their wizardly ways was met with varying degrees of failure. Howard's relentless flirtation bordered on the absurd, with his attempts to woo Penny coming off as desperate. Raj, meanwhile, sat in terrified silence, unable to utter a single syllable in Penny's presence. Sheldon, of course, found the entire affair a big waste of time. Why are we talking to her? She knows nothing of science, he thought to himself. As the group talked, or rather, as the men bombarded Penny with geek speak, Leonard saw his opportunity to stand out as the shining hero of this fairy tale. He absurdly attempted to engage Penny in conversation about the more normal aspect of life, like relationships and her acting dreams. Regrettably, his efforts were mostly in vain, as the gravitational pull of his nerdy tendencies kept dragging him back to the black hole of geekdom. As the night went on, Penny's distress over her belongings being held hostage by her villainous ex-boyfriend became the topic of discussion. Leonard, overpowered by his undying affection for her, proposed a daring rescue mission. His plan? To retrieve her possessions from the lair of the beast. Armed with nothing but his wits, a complete lack of physical strength, and his trusty sidekick Sheldon. The ex-boyfriend, a giant who towered over our brave nerds, was not impressed by their noble intentions. Leonard, though valiant in spirit, was quickly dismissed, and the two wizards retreated back to their tower, having accomplished nothing more than humiliating themselves in front of Penny's former flame. But Penny, ever gracious, did not hold this failure against them. In fact, she offered her thanks, showing a level of kindness and understanding that confused Leonard and left Sheldon baffled as to why humans bothered with such futile emotions. After the failure of their first real-world quest, Leonard and Sheldon returned to the safety of their lair. Penny, seemingly unfazed by the social ineptitude and complete lack of bravery, joined them in an evening of relaxation. For her, this was a casual end to an unusual day. But for Leonard, this was the start of something magical, an unlikely friendship, and the beginning of his endless pursuit to win her heart. Sheldon, of course, remained unconvinced that any of this was worth the effort. In his mind, the only thing that mattered was the consistent order of their universe, and Penny's arrival had already caused more disruption than he could tolerate. Still, even Sheldon had to admit, in the privacy of his own head of course, that the arrival of this strange new maiden had brought something unexpected into their lives, a form of chaos that even he, in all his calculation, couldn't quite predict. And so, the tale of the Big Bang Theory begins, not with dragons or sword fights, but with Wi-Fi passwords, awkward conversations, and one very perplexing maiden. Sir Leonard, the noble yet hopelessly nerdy knight, had set off on a quest to win Penny's heart. Sir Sheldon, his not-so-generous companion, watched from the sidelines, forever irritated by the unpredictability of human interaction. Though their initial attempts at bravery and romance were more laughable than legendary, Leonard's heart remained unshakable. He may not have been the most charming, the most confident, or the most physically intimidating knight in the kingdom, but he was determined. The end, or rather, the beginning.